Is it just me, or do any of you ever feel like you're losing your damn mind? Every day, I look at what's going on in this country on a daily basis, and I almost can't believe it's happening. And what's worse about it is that I look around, and it's like either nobody notices or nobody cares. And I know that's not true. I know there's literally millions of us out there who are shocked and outraged and furious about what's going on. We see this criminal literally destroying our republic right before our eyes in real time. And we're realizing how powerless we are as individual citizens to stop this. Now, we aren't completely powerless, but our power only comes from enough people in this country waking the hell up and demanding that Congress stop this. Because Congress is the only institution in this country with the power to stop this. There is a mechanism in the Constitution that was designed precisely to handle a situation like this, to remove a lawless president from office. That is the impeachment process. Yes, we've tried it twice. It's failed both times because, as we know, impeachment in the House is only step one. If you don't convict him in the Senate with a 2/3 majority vote, then nothing happens. And we've tried that twice. And I guess because of that, people have just given up. Oh, it could never happen. Oh, and Republicans control Congress, so it can never happen. Yeah, it won't happen right now, but that doesn't mean it can never happen. It will happen when we make members of Congress more afraid of us than they are of him. But getting back to my point where I feel like I'm going insane sometimes. Like, am I the only one who is living in this reality, seeing what's going on? I mean, on a daily basis, he is threatening to use, and preparing to use the United States military against American citizens on the streets of America. That is why they summoned the generals and admirals to Washington. It was to start laying the groundwork for this. They're doing it right out in the open. And until he actually uses the military for this, really, he's doing it anyway with ICE, which is essentially a second military. Donald Trump's own personal military. They are militarized. They have military weaponry. They are literally using armored vehicles against American citizens on the streets of America. I see videos every day of what's going on in the street. But you know what? You have to go to social media to see it, because it's covered very, very little in the mainstream media. I saw a video today of Kristi Noem up on the roof of some friggin' building surveying these snipers' nests that they're putting up along the tops of these buildings, with snipers positioned to fire on American citizens if they protest. Am I the only one who's seeing this? I know I'm not, but I feel like I am. We have ICE and other agencies literally disappearing people, arresting people without warrants, masked thugs just kidnapping people off the streets, taking them to God knows where, doing to them God knows what. I saw a video, and this was local news. You know, local news in some of these places where this is happening is actually doing a pretty good job. So I don't want to say the entire media isn't covering this, but the national media is covering this very, very little. But they were covering the scene where federal thugs, I'm assuming ICE, but who the hell knows what agency it was, literally went into minority dominant areas and went through entire apartment buildings and emptied it out, pulled people out of their apartments onto the streets and detained them, put handcuffs on them, put them in the backs of vans and moving trucks without warrants, no warrants to do any of this, just going into apartment buildings and rounding everyone up, and then one by one investigating each person, investigating their immigration status, investigating whether they have open warrants, questioning them, getting them to turn on people. We need to stop talking about this is the road to fascism. This is fascism. To go into an apartment building and just round up everyone. I mean, I am so sick of saying this is illegal, this is unconstitutional. You and I know this, you and I appreciate this. No one else seems to give a damn. And you know what? When the media does report on any of this, never do they even raise the fact that these things are illegal and unconstitutional. You cannot detain people. You need reasonable suspicion to detain people. Then you need probable cause to arrest them. Now, the freaking Supreme Court last month said, you know what? You can use race and the way what people look like and the language they speak as a factor to determining whether or not there's reasonable suspicion to detain them. And who was it? Kavanaugh, I believe, said, and we're just talking about temporary detentions, where they just stop someone and talk to them for a little while to get more information, to check as to their immigration status. That's not what is going on. These are not conversations on the side of the street for a couple of minutes. These are people being ripped out of their homes, handcuffed and thrown in the back of vans for hours and hours and hours before these thugs, are done rounding everybody up, before they have time to get to these people. And then maybe hours later, after finding out, hey, this is just an American citizen who hasn't committed any crimes, who has no open warrants, I guess we'll let this person go. An American citizen sleeping in their bed, doing absolutely nothing wrong, getting ripped out of their home and shoved into the back of a fucking van. This, and then the Supreme Court whitewashes this. Oh, these are just temporary detentions to get... You're freaking kidding me. I wrote down a couple more things here, just to give myself some notes of some of the things that are going on in this country right now. We have the President of the United States ordering the military to literally murder people. We are murdering fishermen on the seas, more than 1,000 miles from the United States, posing absolutely no danger to us whatsoever. Donald Trump is just having them murdered. As I read to you this part of this New York Times piece from a couple of days ago, where they were interviewing some of the families of these people who were blown up. One woman said, my husband's a fisherman. He went out fishing. These are poor people. They went out fishing. He was blown up, never came home. He was blown up by the United States military on the orders of a deranged madman. He is having people killed. He is having people kidnapped, sent to concentration camps in other countries, just because he says they're drug dealers, or he calls them gang members, or whatever. He just labels them something. And he says, therefore, I can do whatever I want. Of course, none of this is true. None of this is legal. And all of this, any one of these individual things, should be reason enough to impeach and remove him from office. And yet, I feel like I'm going insane, that no one else, people just going about their day. Like this isn't happening in this country. He's using these allegations of drug smuggling as justification for using illegal force and for laying the predicate for war. The peace president, the man who is out there every day demanding that he be given the Nobel Peace Prize, is now planning to invade Venezuela. I brought you this story the other day. They are planning to, at least according to the reports, they're planning to seize ports and airfields inside Venezuela and striking inside Venezuela. No congressional authorization. It's an absolutely illegal war, whether you call it war, whether you call it a targeted military campaign, whatever the hell this friggin' guy calls it, it's illegal. And he should be impeached and removed from office if he does any of it. But he should be impeached and removed from office for the things he's already done. He's, news out now, he's having himself put on U.S. currency. A $1 coin commemorating 250 years of independence. They're going to put Donald Trump's face on American currency. His face on one side, if you've seen the pictures, face on one side, and that friggin' picture of him with the fight from the assassination, the miraculous assassination where he has a part of his ear blown off and it miraculously heals in a matter of hours. I mean, do we need to even say that that's illegal? There is a federal statute, only Congress gets to regulate the currency, okay? That's yet another job of Congress. And Congress has specifically said in federal law that only deceased people are allowed to appear on currency. You cannot put living people on U.S. currency. But do we think the law is going to stop him? Yet another impeachable offense. If he does this, a clear violation of the law. And it would be a violation of the appropriation clause, spending money on something he has no authority to do. That's another impeachable offense. What else? Oh, yeah. He's building his ballroom. He's building monuments to himself. Have you seen the monstrosity that is this ballroom? It's bigger than the entire White House. This is a man who does not plan to leave. I mean, I can talk about this literally for hours, but it is clear as day what he is preparing. He is preparing the military to use force against American citizens. He is that's what that whole thing with the generals was. Laying the groundwork. They're weeding out anyone in the military who would oppose him. They're getting rid of them now, in advance. And he doesn't care. This is the other thing. He doesn't care about public opinion. He's not planning to run for office again, but he's planning on never leaving. If he were planning on running for a third term, as illegal and unconstitutional as that is, you would presume that he would care about the public opinion. He doesn't give a shit about public opinion. He's destroying the economy. His poll numbers are sinking like a stone. More and more people are waking up to this. if he was actually planning on running again, he wouldn't be doing these things, at least some of these things. He doesn't care about public opinion because he doesn't plan to run again, but he plans never to leave office, and he plans to stay by force. And I think we're not going to wait for 2028. He's going to launch this plan, I believe, next year. I did a video a few days ago about how he could literally dissolve Congress, like Emperor friggin' Palpatine, just getting rid of Congress. If he can somehow postpone the elections, get people to postpone the election, maybe that's what the war in Venezuela is about. Maybe he's going to set up some other national emergency. Now, obviously, he has no legal authority. There's no legal authority for a president for any reason whatsoever, including world war, to postpone elections. And presidents don't control elections. They're controlled by the states. But what if he gets enough red states to go along with it? What if he gets Republicans in Congress to go along with it? Oh, yeah, we're at war, or this emergency, we should postpone elections. And then any states that don't go along with it, maybe he sends the military in and arrests the Secretary of State and seizes control of the voting machines. I don't know. He talked about having the military seize control of the voting machines after the 2020 election that he lost. That was one of their plans, to seize voting machines and then declare that the whole thing was invalid and to somehow nullify the vote. So we know that he's already had these thoughts. You postpone the election and you sell it to Republicans. Oh yeah, we'll just postpone it for a little while until after this emergency. Well, then guess what? Members of Congress, the entire House of Representatives, their term expires in January of 2027. So these Republicans who might think, yeah, we'll go along, we'll still be members of Congress because we didn't have elections. Guess what? You're no longer members of Congress because your terms just expired. So there would be no members of Congress, at least on the House, and a third of them in the Senate would be gone. And then Donald Trump could just say, you know what? There is no more Congress. I'm going to dictate the laws completely. And we're never going to have an election. I don't know. Let your mind wander. That's the point. But here, let me finish this way. Because this is where I'm like, am I losing my fucking mind? All of this is happening. And this is not Trump. Trump is a fucking moron. Trump is the figurehead. Obviously, Trump is going along with it, and Trump loves it. He wants to be dictator for life. Don't get me wrong. He's not planning this shit. He's far too stupid to plan this shit. He doesn't have the attention. Even if he wasn't too stupid to plan this, which he is, he doesn't have the focus to strategize this stuff. No, it's the people around him. Russ Vought and Stephen Miller. And who else, who knows who else in there is part of this. They're the ones strategizing. This is what they're doing. It's not only Project 2025, it's beyond Project 2025. You see this. The pieces are all being moved into place. And by the way, I don't think this will ultimately be successful. I don't think he'll get away with these things in the long run. But it might get very, very ugly around here. And we might descend into some form of civil war. I don't know. We can either impeach and remove him now, before he does these things, and I don't think we're going to. Don't get me wrong. I have no expectation that that's going to happen. But we either do that now, or we're going to be dealing with a much uglier situation later, after he does, in fact, implement a military coup. Because I have no doubt that that's what they're planning. We could either get rid of him before that happens, or we're going to have to deal with it, and it's going to be a much worse situation after it happens. The pieces are all being moved into place. It's obvious to anyone with a fucking brain who's paying attention. And yet, what is the argument going on in Washington, D.C. right now? We got this government shutdown, right? And what are Democrats focused on? Obamacare subsidies. Are you fucking kidding me? Look, health insurance for people who can't afford it is a very important subject. Don't think I'm making light of it. But he is literally planning a military dictatorship. He's putting the pieces in place, and we're talking Obamacare subsidies? What is this, 2012? If we're gonna shut the government down, can we at least try to focus the American people on the fact that he is militarizing, he's using the military against American citizens for the purpose of being dictator for life? Can we not show video of what's happening on the streets of America? I'm telling you, most people are completely oblivious to what's happening. Most people go about their day, they're in their information silos, they watch Netflix, they play on TikTok, they don't see this. Unless you are paying attention to this stuff, the algorithms don't show you this stuff. If you like fluffy bunnies, the algorithm shows you that. If you like dance videos, the algorithms show you that. And on and on. You like cooking, you're watching cooking videos all day. You go onto Netflix, you're not seeing this shit. You're seeing whatever's trending on Netflix. And people in this country are too afraid to even talk politics. The people who are aware of things that are going on, they go about their day and they don't even bring it up. Can't talk about politics. I don't need to be attacked by a MAGA. I'm just going to keep to myself. The net result of all of that is that most people in this country have no idea what's even fucking going on. We are racing headlong toward military dictatorship. It's only a matter of time. He's putting the pieces in place, and we're fucking debating Obamacare subsidies. We should be saying we're shutting down the government because Donald Trump is using the government to punish American citizens and to consolidate power illegally. We are not going to fund his attempts to overthrow this republic and establish a military dictatorship. He is disappearing people off the streets. There's no due process, arresting people without warrants. All of this stuff that's going on, that's why we should be shutting down the government. We should say we're not funding this. This is tyranny. We're going to celebrate 250 years of independence and freedom next year. Meanwhile, this is going on. And instead of saying we're going to shut the government, we're not going to give one more penny to fund this tyrannical government. Unless this, and this happens. No, none of that. We're debating frigging Obamacare subsidies. Are you fucking kidding me? I think it is, I anticipated a whole lot of this. It's happening faster than I thought. And it's the worst case scenario of the things that I thought. I thought he was capable of this. Didn't know if he'd actually do some of this stuff. Some of this stuff I didn't even think of. And it's happening so much quicker. What I didn't anticipate was the total obliviousness of the American people. It seems few people even have a clue what's going on or don't even care. And institution after institution just going along with it. You know, the court stood up to Donald Trump, the Supreme Court. I mean, lower courts are. It's the Supreme Court that's the problem. But they told him no a lot in the first term. They're not doing it at all now. Congress, nothing. Although there are some Republicans in Congress who are starting to oppose some of this stuff. Don't want to read too much into that, but it's happening. It's not unimportant. Institution after institution. Huge law firms bending the knee. Huge corporations bending the knee. Colleges and universities bending the knee. Again, I don't think he's ultimately, even if he does launch a military coup, and even if he succeeds in suspending elections and imposing a military dictatorship, I don't think in the long run you can sustain that in this country. And I think it'll end very, very badly for him. And you know what? In a way, if that happens, maybe that's what this country needs to go through. Maybe we need some sort of second revolution in this country, some sort of mass awakening. Maybe that's what needs to happen to wake fucking people up in this country. Because nothing else seems to do it, which is why we're in the situation we are. Maybe that's what it's going to take. But you know what? If Donald Trump goes through with all this, and again, I could talk about this shit for hours, and I'm going to be talking about it a lot more, because I don't think we're avoiding this now. And I've told you from the beginning, people don't want to hear it because, oh, that's never going to happen. You have one choice. You have two choices. You either impeach and remove him now, and yeah, I know how fucking nearly impossible that is, but that's the situation. You either impeach and remove him now, or we're going to have to deal with something much, much worse later on. That's it. And I don't even hear calls for his impeachment. With all this stuff going on, we're whining about Obamacare subsidies. Where are the calls for his impeachment? And yes, we can't do it right now, but we certainly can't do it if we don't even talk about it. And why would the American people think that anything that Trump is doing is illegal when Democrats aren't even calling it out as illegal? Some of them are. I don't want to overgeneralize here. But on a party-wide level, no one's calling for his impeachment. Or a couple of people are. But it's not a Democratic Party focus. They should be all over TV all the time calling for his impeachment. And then the media playing, both sidesism, and this is just normal politics. You people are going to be under military dictatorship too. And you're so precious, you're so worried about, your precious jobs, your little journalism jobs, and you don't want to make the dear leader angry. You think your jobs are going to exist once Trump initiates his military takeover of this republic? You fucking out of your minds? All these people who are just going along for whatever personal reasons they have, money, their jobs, whatever, you're going to lose all of that. But why would the American people think that this is? I mean, they go about their daily lives, and most people, this isn't impacting them directly yet. Nobody's calling for his impeachment, really. Nobody's saying this is illegal, so it must not be. In fact, I turn on the TV, I look at the news, and what are Democrats talking about? Their main issue is Obamacare subsidies. So, I mean, if Trump was on the verge of turning this country into a military dictatorship, I would expect that the Democrats would at least be telling me that, but they're not. They're telling me the worst thing that's going on right now is that Trump is going to cut Obamacare subsidies. Oh my God. We're losing this country by choice. The tens and tens and tens of millions of Americans who are consciously and voluntarily oblivious to all this, or who see it and say, I'm not going to get involved. I don't care. I'm not going to oppose this. It's all a choice. All these people going along. There is no reason that this country has to go along with this. We can put an end to it today. But collectively, as an American people, we're choosing not to put an end to this. We're choosing to let this happen. We're choosing to watch this criminal piece of shit destroy this country and put all the pieces in place to launch a military coup, to overthrow this republic and install himself as a dictator. That's what's going on. And I feel like I'm losing my damn mind. That I look around and there's nobody seems to care. Or certainly not enough people. Anyway, more about this later. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.